Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Grows Your Business Show. This week, we're going to be talking about something that you guys probably don't feel super pumped to get into, but it's so important. It's what leads to the money, and it's tied to list building for sure. So if you're not list building, but you know you need to be, or if you are list building, but you don't feel like you really nurture people, or you have a structure around, getting somebody on your list and then loving them up is what I call it, loving them up. Then today is going to be so impactful for you because we're going to talk about how you can create a nurture sequence or welcome sequence, whichever word. They're interchangeable in my mind, where you can bring someone onto your list, love them up, and get them to a place ultimately where they're ready to purchase from you. So as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you this morning or this afternoon, or I guess evening, depending on where you are in the world? I am in Tampa, Florida, and I'll just do a quick intro for those of you who've never been on one of my shows before. My name is Kim Garst. I'm an online business strategist. I love helping people grow their businesses using the power of digital and social media. Super passionate about that. I've owned an online business for multiple online businesses over the years, but been online and in the online space for about 30 years. So I am a little bit like, it's hard to say that when when you hear it out loud, it seems like that's crazy. So we have India in the house. Welcome, Rohan. I'm so glad you're here. And so anyway, like I say, today we're going to be talking about welcome sequences. And normally when you are in a place where you're trying to list build and somebody comes on your list, and if you're not dedicated to sending emails out to the people who subscribes to your list, then you could lose them. If you haven't emailed those that are on your list in a month or 2 years, I'm sorry, but you might as well start from scratch. When you get to that 2-year mark, they've already forgotten you, and more than likely even at the 2-month mark, and maybe even the 1-month mark, honestly. So you absolutely need to be connected and have a structure in place to bring from the moment they come to you and say yes, they're honoring you in that moment by giving you something that's value-based to them, their email address, so that you can connect with them and ultimately build a deeper relationship with them. And more importantly, and this is what's super important, and I want you to lean in and hear this because you need to. Your sales are not going to come from social media. No, I know that's a hard thing for you to hear, but over 90% of my sales, and my social media community is about 1.5 million, but over 90% of my sales come from where? They come from my list. They do not come from social media, y'all. So social media is just a place to attract people to something you own, which is your list. So hey, Molly, girl, so grateful for you too. I'm so glad to see you here. So we have all kinds of folks here from all over the world, literally. So we have Marie from Jersey Shore. Hey, Marie, it's so good to see you. We have the Netherlands in the house. Awesome. I saw a couple of others, South Africa. I mean, boy, we have folks from literally all over the world. Keegan is saying, preach it. Yes, it's so important to have an email list in place, or otherwise you're going to struggle to make money in your business, y'all. I'm just flat out telling you, tough love there. So a couple of quick things before we bring our special guest on. I'm really excited about having Sarah with us today. But I want to just a couple of things. We do appreciate when you love what you're hearing and you're like, yeah, I love it. So like Keegan just said, preach it, girl, kind of thing. Feel free to share your love. Like, show us some emojis. We love those. A couple of other things that we try to do each and every week is we do giveaways for those who share their aha moments. So this week, our giveaway is going to be something that is, oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that, y'all. our giveaway this week, I shared the wrong one. Sorry about that. Is how to hang on just a moment. It's an email list building course. Let me get the right. Yeah, how to write emails that will have your email subscribers clicking, buying, and drooling on every email. So you got to get people to say yes to your to being on your list first. So we're going to be giving away 2 of those mini courses on today's show. So how to write emails that will have your email subscribers clicking, buying, and drooling on every word. But once you get them there, then you have to love them up, nurture them. All right. So I also want to spend just a minute and give a huge shout out to our sponsor. Our sponsor is Restream. And this is kind of a new platform for me. I've been using it for a couple of months now for live streaming to multiple social media channels at the same time. Right now, we're live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. They have a super easy to use interface for doing cool transitions, bringing comments and customized text on the screen, and seamlessly bringing on your guest. You can also brand your live shows, which is super cool. You can use your own overlays, like custom overlays, logos, and even pull in those custom graphics and videos. And I think this is, for me, it's been a perfect platform. I think, honestly, it's a perfect platform for anyone, whether you're new or experienced. If you want to use your own branding, custom graphics, go live in multiple places, you do need a paid plan, but I have some great news for you. I've worked with brands for years, and very rarely, if they give me a discount, do they give me a discount that's for life. But I got a discount for life from Restream to offer up to my peeps. So sorry, I get the wrong graphic up here. Let me delete that one and pull the right one up. But if you are interested, check out Restream at kimgarst.com/Restream. Use the code KimGarst25 and you'll get a 25% discount for life. For life, y'all. So hopefully you're like, I need to get that. Let me go grab that because it is a super duper deal. Okay. Now, going back to the giveaway, I forgot to tell you one important thing. How do you win? How do you enter to win the giveaway, which is that list building course? You enter to win by sharing your aha moments. I got my finger right this week. Did y'all see that? I usually point the other way, but I got it right this week. So if you will type in if you hear something, let me explain first. What's an aha moment? If you hear something, you're like, oh man, that was so good. Or if you hear something and even if you knew it, but you needed to hear it again, you know what I'm saying? Where sometimes you knew it, but you needed to hear it again. Just drop those hashtags aha moments in for us. We enter you into the win wheel, we call it, and we'll pick a winner at the end of today's show. All right. So now I got all the important or the housekeeping stuff out of the way, but the real important stuff. I want to introduce you guys to our guest today. She's incredible. I'm really excited to have her with us. And when I bring her on, I'll tell you why I love her. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about her, like her bio kind of thing. And then we'll bring her on in and you guys can put your hands together for her. But Sarah is an email strategist and copywriter for digital course creators, coaches, and service providers. She specializes in writing welcome sequences that engage new subscribers, establish your authority, and set the stage for powerful and profitable launches. So I don't remember how I was intro. Oh, I know. So let me bring Sarah in here and you guys put your hands together for Sarah. Hey, Sarah, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Kim, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let me tell you how I initially came to know about Sarah. So I was on the Google machine one day and I was Googling, copywriting or launches. Actually, it was launches. And I don't know if Sarah still does this, but back in the day, she would take people's launch sequences and she would dissect them. She would basically say, this is why this worked. and she would do it in blog format. So she'd pull all of their, their launch emails and, basically dissect them. What was it did you call them, Sarah?
I called them email teardowns, where I was going through and kind of like, yeah, dissecting, picking apart different launches.
But they were so value based. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. So that was my first touch point with Sarah. And then recently we hired Sarah to write our new welcome sequence. So we're super excited about that. She did a fabulous job, and I invited her on to share her wicked awesome knowledge with you guys. So um, just real quick, I want everybody to know that you are a part of this. So you can ask your questions. We'll try to get them answered live, but if we don't, we'll certainly circle back. But don't hesitate to ask your questions. We do have someone from my team in the comments. And then, like I say, we'll try our very hardest to pull your questions in and answer them live. Okay. So, Sarah, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How in the world did you get started with copywriting? I mean, copywriting is one of those things that most people like steer away from, and like that's your jam. Like, how'd you get started with that?
Yeah, so actually, copywriting was not my first foray into the online business. I actually started with a craft business. So I had a Etsy shop, and I was selling hand-dyed yarns. I am a major knitter. I love to knit. That's like one of my favorite things. And so I was doing this, and it was like, okay, I put stuff on Etsy and think it's going to sell. And obviously that's not how it works. I had to learn all about the online marketing side of stuff too. And that's how I got into this kind of space and started learning about copywriting and social media and all of that stuff. And I really just loved writing copy because I was an English major. I loved to write before, and I just never realized that there was this like really cool way to do professional writing. When I thought about professional writer, I thought of like a novelist or like a journalist. But I really loved the copywriting kind of writing. And I think my favorite part and what I still love to do is the research part, because I'm the kind of person that I love like deep diving into new things. And with copy, like every project was a chance to do that. So it was like, I just like loved it when I first got into it and just kept going deeper and deeper into that side of things.
So one thing I picked up on what you said was how everything is new and different, and from a research perspective, that especially I guess when it comes to an individual client or customer that comes your way, you have to research them, right? You have to
Yeah.
understand their voice and their tone and, what matters to them and what they're selling and all this stuff. Guys, I know we went through that journey with trying to figure out what our structure was and all of that. So, but for those of that may be watching or listening, even on the replay, what in the world is a welcome sequence or a nurture? And or I use the term nurture and welcome sequence like interchangeably.
I do
So,
too. Yeah, they're very
okay.
similar. They're basically the same thing. And what they are is really the first emails that you send to a new subscriber once they subscribe. And it's something that goes out automatically. So you set it up once and you don't have to do it again. It just, your email service provider takes care of that. And you can get really detailed in how you do segmenting and things like that, depending on how advanced your marketing is. Or it could be something really simple where it's just a couple emails that introduce you to your audience and kind of start to build that relationship. Because like email marketing, I loved how you talked about how most of your sales come from email, because email marketing is such a great channel because it is like an opt-in thing. It's something that they have to say, yes, I'm interested in hearing from you. And so when someone does that, you want to honor that commitment that they just made and send emails out to them. And that's why I love a welcome sequence, because no matter how busy you are in your business, if you can't regularly send an email every single week, you can always have your welcome sequence working for you in the background.
So that begs the next question, which is like, why? What's the real benefit? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, like, if you don't routinely, send an email, you have that welcome sequence working for you. But like, there's a lot more that goes into why you need a welcome sequence. So I'd love it if you like dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, the thing that with your welcome sequence, like the first email that you send to anyone is going to have like the highest open rate of any email you'll ever send, because this is when people are the most interested in hearing from you. They have just signed up, they're probably in their inbox looking for your email. And so you want to really like capture that excitement and like go with them and not wait like a month, 2 months, whatever, to reach out to them again, where by that time they may have forgotten who you are. They may not recognize your name in their inbox. So it's a really great way to kind of connect with people when they are the most interested in connecting with you. And it can also help with your future open rates. If you kind of establish this relationship early on where they are used to seeing you in their inbox, or they see you and they like learn, oh, this person has really great tips for me. They always send really valuable emails, or they're really funny, like whatever kind of value you're bringing in these emails, you want to establish that from the beginning so that people like know when they see your name in the inbox that they're like, yes, this is someone I want to learn from. This is someone I know. And so it's really about that relationship building that can set the stage for all the further marketing you're going to do with your list as you know you continue to have them as a subscriber.
So good, so good. So why, if it's so important to have it, do most not? Like, I mean, why do people like, if we kind of laid the groundwork, like, okay, lean in, everybody. You need this. You need a welcome sequence, and we've got some questions about like number of emails in a welcome sequence and that kind of thing. We're gonna definitely break that down. I have that question for Sarah as well. But again, going back to the psychology of it, and I'm assuming that most know they need it. So maybe there are people that are watching right now that didn't understand the importance of a welcome sequence. So, but let's assume now that everybody that's here understands that they need a welcome sequence for their new person. That first email in particular is super important. Then what is the number one reason or reasons that most don't step into it, that they don't create those welcome sequences for their person?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of reasons. I don't know what the number one would be, but I know a lot of people, like, one, they just get overwhelmed by all of the tech stuff and trying to set up, and they like go into ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign or whatever they're using, and they're like, I don't want to look at this. Like, I don't know. Another thing is just like the words. I know a lot of people can get writer's block, especially it's so hard to write about yourself. Like, even I have this as a copywriter, will sometimes still struggle when I'm trying to write about my own business. So I know that that can be a real challenge for a lot of people. And then there's just the thing of like, okay, well, how many emails do I send? When do I send them? How often should I send emails? Do I send them every day? That kind of stuff can get just like, there's a lot of details when you get into it that it can just be like, I'll deal with that later. It's easy to put off when there are so many different moving parts to a welcome sequence. So hopefully today we can kind of simplify it and give you guys a little bit more of a plan of like what you can do for like your minimum viable welcome sequence just to get you started.
Yeah, I love that. I agree wholeheartedly. I know a lot of people because I've been teaching building for years, and they get hung up on the tech for
Mhm.
sure. The what to say, I think, is honestly the biggest probably stumbling block or roadblock after the tech. It's like, okay, I know I need to send so many emails, but like, what do I say? So let's dig into that a little bit. Like when you are trying to plan, and I do believe you need a plan, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but plan your welcome sequence. Like, what are some best strategies for that? Like, do you try, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What are some good strategies for that?
Yeah, I mean, when I plan any sequence, I talk to my clients and ask them, like, what are the goals for the sequence? After someone goes through this email sequence, like, what do you want them to do? How do you want them to interact with your business? And you can do multiple things in a welcome sequence. It's not like it all has to be to one goal. You can have small goals along the way. Like maybe you want them to hit reply and engage with you. Maybe you want them to go follow you on Instagram. Maybe you want them to join your free Facebook group. Maybe you want them to book a call. Maybe you want them to visit your website. Like there's a lot of different actions that we can take in different individual emails throughout a sequence. But I would say sit down and think about what it is that you want someone to do when they're interacting with these emails and work your way backwards. So if like the big thing you want to do is get more clients, and maybe you want people booking a call, like think about a few different touch points in the sequence where you could talk about your services. Maybe you can like share an email that's a case study about someone that you helped before, and have a few different ways that people can hear about your services, and then have the call to action be to reach out and book a call with you. So it really can depend on your individual business. There's a lot of things and ways you can customize it, but I always start with the goal in mind and think, okay, where do we want to go with these emails?
That is so good. I think that's, I've been harping a lot on that myself, even with social media. Like you need to understand every post you make should have a goal, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's like, I say this all the time. It's like getting in the car and heading south. Like, yeah, you'll go somewhere, but like, where are you going to end up? So understanding where you're going, I think is important. And let's go back to something you said, and I'd really like to touch on this because I think a lot of times when you are trying to do this first thing, you called it a minimum viable product. For those of you that are watching, I would speculate that a lot of them don't have maybe even a minimum viable product. So, what is a minimum viable welcome sequence? Is it one email, two, three? I know some
Yeah.
welcome sequences can get crazy and, they can be 20 emails, but like,
Right. I mean, like, very basic. You want to definitely have a welcome email. Like that is the minimum. And then I can share like my top 5, like if you want to get a little bit more advanced. But the number one email you need to have is the welcome email that goes out. And this is usually, it can be the delivery email or it can be separate. I think it's nice to include the delivery of the freebie in the email so that you're not having people like trying to like search through a couple emails and think, oh, here's the freebie I signed up for, and then it's not there. So in this email, that's the welcome email. You want to like just say, hey, I'm so glad to have you here. Kind of just get excited that they're there. Share the thing that they downloaded. Tell them a little bit more about what they will get when they use it. Highlight the benefits of using it. And then you can kick off the conversation. I like to have in my welcome email, I ask people to reply back to me because I love to hear from my subscribers. And it's also really helps me to know like how people are finding me. So I'll ask people to say hello, tell me where they are in the world, how they found me, and if they have any questions about email marketing, because it's a really great way to just get to know your subscribers, get to know like if they are all coming from a podcast you did, like maybe then okay, I should do more podcasts. So if they're all coming from like a guest post, like I have a guest post that I did on Active Campaign a while back, and I get people from that all the time. So it's really cool to see sort of how things are working. So that is like number one, is to have a welcome email. And then I don't know, do you want me to just like jump in and talk about some of the other emails that I think are great for welcome
sure.
sequence?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think these specific types of examples are super powerful for people.
Yeah, so that's number one. If you don't have anything set up yet, I would start there because that's really simple. You could, do it in an hour or so, like write that email, probably less than that. It doesn't have to be a super long, complicated email. And then if you want to get a little bit more, add to the welcome sequence to kind of keep building this relationship. A few other emails that I would include would be to have an email sharing your story, like introducing you, because you don't know how people are finding you. Maybe people have found you and they've been watching your content or seeing you a lot and they like know all about you, but they could be someone that just like saw you in passing, someone recommended them to check you out, and they don't know like maybe all the details of what you do and how you got started. So this is a really great email to kind of open up and create that personal connection with subscribers, so you can share your brand values, share how you got started in your business, share maybe your why behind what you do, like why you're so passionate about this. And it's a really great way to kind of help them get to know the person behind the email so that they can connect and see you as more than just like another email in their inbox. They see you as the person that you are. And then another email, so that would be emails. 1 would be your welcome email. Email 2 would be your story. Email 3 would be just giving extra value. This is where you can really highlight some great content that you've created. If you are making videos every week like Kim, or if you have a free Facebook group, or if you do a podcast, or if you've got great stuff on your blog, or maybe you have another like free download resource that people, kind of ties into the freebie that people got when they signed up. This is just a great way to establish yourself as the go-to person that in your niche, that's got the resources that they want, the advice, the answers, and that is really providing a lot of value. And that also shows that you're emails are worth opening too, because you want to keep people opening as they go through the sequence. Then email number 4, I like to do an email somewhere in the sequence that is asking for feedback, because I do this a little in email 1 when I ask people to reply, but your welcome sequence is a goldmine for audience research and getting to know like who your customers and your audience are and gathering data about this audience. So you can use this email to ask a question to get to know your audience better. You can use it to segment. If you like serve a couple different type of markets, you can have them like click a link in your email to tell them a little bit more about like where they fit in your structure, and so you know a little bit more about the content to send to them, so you can personalize and specialize emails to them. You can send a survey to them. You can ask them to hit reply and answer a question. There's a lot you can do in this email. And then the last email that I like to include and make sure to include is an email that invites them to do something a little bit deeper with you, whether that is reaching out to work with you, whether that is checking out your online shop. Maybe you have like a webinar that leads into something that you want to invite them to. Just another email that kind of asks them to engage a little bit deeper with you and your brand and your business.
Oh, those are so value-based. I hope you guys took a few notes there, because I think if you understand if somebody has a list of 5 types of emails, it's so much easier to like write those once you know what it is you're supposed to be writing, right? What I want to highlight something that we learned through working with Active Campaign, and something that Sarah talked about, but I want to give you just another little nugget, if you will, on how important those reply emails are. So when somebody replies to you, it's like an indicator that there is a two-way relationship versus a one-way relationship, and it's a signal and I don't know exactly how it works, but it keeps your emails in no, a couple of things. It keeps your emails in there, going into their inbox and not their spam folders. And it gives it signals back to, I don't know, Active Campaign or whoever your service provider is, that, your content's value based, which also means that you're more likely to get into the inboxes of your other subscribers versus their spam folders. So that reply feature is really neat in the context of being able to connect and talk with your folks, but it also serves another purpose. And, I think that's important for us to know, because getting into people's inboxes instead of getting filtered into their other or spam folder, especially if you're using Gmail or if you've got a lot of Gmail users, that really becomes an issue. So
Yeah, it can help you get in that primary folder in Gmail too. It really can help with the deliverability overall, because people are not replying to spam emails mostly. Like,
right. So I love that you mentioned that. So I wanted to circle back real quick to something, because I think it's important we talked about the goal perspective and understanding where you wanted, your person to end up. And if you can think about your email sequence as a journey for your person, like a stepping stone, like how are you going to they enter your garden. That's the way I look at it. They enter your garden and you want them to sniff along the way, right? To get
yeah,
to the place, right, that you want them to be. The massive rose bush that that's your course or whatever it is that you're
yeah.
selling. Um, but how do you really define that process? Do you have any strategies that you use to figure out how you're going to get what is the big rose bush for, and then how do you define the journey a little bit better?
Yeah,
Does that
I mean,
question
so
make sense?
I think so. Like defining the big rose bush too, it can kind of be tricky, because it's like, okay, if you're like selling something, like there's the thing of the marketing and like the input that you put into the marketing kind of has to be equal to like the pricing of the thing. So if you're like Big Rose Bush is like a $2,000 course, like you're probably going to need something a little bit deeper to nurture someone to feel comfortable when they've just met you to like spend that kind of money. But if you have something that's like a little digital product or something that's like, less than $50, and that's something that's a little bit easier to kind of nurture too. So that is something I definitely consider is like the price point of something, and what the call to action is. Like We talked about maybe getting someone on a call. That's a different call to action than getting someone to like buy a course like from a sales page. They get a chance to get to know you and talk to you and ask questions and things like that. So I think that I'm answering your question. I'm not
Yes,
sure.
you did actually. Oops, let me get that back. Sorry, I always hit the wrong button sometimes. So did a great job, and you really highlighted something else that's super important in my head anyway, and that is the difference, the price difference, and what you're putting in front of people. And we're going at this from the assumption that initially someone is coming through into your garden. Through something that's free, like you've said, hey, here's something that's value based, and etc. But what happens, and I know a lot of times, specifically when you're working with clients, you're working with a client to build a sequence that is long-term designed to, from a launch perspective, to sell people into something, right? So
Mhm.
let's assume that that I've picked out my massive rose bush and I'm having a launch around it. And I guess my question is this: should you have different welcome sequences or nurture sequences for different product lines or different things that you're selling? I guess the short answer would be yes, but like somebody's just starting out, does that seem overwhelming, or
I would say it's more of an advanced strategy for someone that has like to have multiple products and to have multiple freebies and to know how they're all interacting. It can be really overwhelming if you are just getting started. So that is something that I would like caution against. Like having something is better than having nothing because you're too overwhelmed to get started. But it kind of would see,
Amen. Say
yeah.
that again. Say that again.
Having something is better than having nothing because you're too overwhelmed to get started. Because I know that that happens to lots of people. That's happened to me in the past, where I just like, when you think about all the stuff you could do and you want to make it perfect and then you just avoid doing anything. And in the meantime, you have all of these, great subscribers that are joining your list and are, not getting the nurturing welcome that they should. So just like getting started with something is a great place. And then you can always go back and kind of, look back and see, okay, how can I make this a little bit better? How can I optimize it? So, I mean, like in the like minimum viable welcome sequence we talked about, there's that segmenting question, or the one where you're asking for feedback. Like that's a great place to start if you have different offers. Like maybe you have like an avatar that really is a good fit for your top end offer, or maybe you have someone that's like just getting started and you serve beginners too, and maybe you have like a smaller offer that fits with them. So you can kind of start to use emails like that to segment, and then have your email sequence branch off into different ways depending on these different offers, so that you're sending people the most relevant emails to them instead of just sending everyone the same thing. And like I said, this is more of an advanced strategy, so if that feels like way too much now, like don't worry about it. But that is kind of where you can go with email, and there's so much personalization you can do with email, that you can tag people based on their behavior, you can tag them based on what they have downloaded, tag them based on things that they click. There is like so much that you can get into with that data stuff, which is again more advanced, but it's there when you're ready.
Yeah, and I just really want to I'll say it again. Y'all just start with something simple, and you can add to, things that you learn or implement. Like I'll give you a quick other simple strategy from a tagging perspective that we do that might be beneficial for anybody that's, got any size list. It doesn't have to be massive to be able to do this, but if we send out an email on Monday, and a certain percentage of people will open it, and there'll be a whole other percentage of people who don't open the email. So maybe that email subject line didn't resonate with that segment of people who didn't open the email within a 24 to 48 hour window. So what we'll do in order to get more people to see that content is we'll send an email with a different subject line out to the people who didn't open it within 48 hours, right? So that's a very simple strategy that absolutely anybody can do. You just, again, when you set up the initial one, you have to tag the openers essentially, and then you can go back and anybody that didn't click, essentially, you can re email them essentially.
Yeah, and that's a great strategy. And that's something I do, for myself and for clients, recommend that because it is a great way to get more people looking at your email list because people, just miss things or maybe went out at the wrong time for them. So it's really, yeah, that's a great strategy.
Yeah. So, what I know we talked about some segmentation, and I don't want to get too deep into like the advanced stuff necessarily,
Yeah.
but I do think it's super important because I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about this in the context of what's possible. And so
Hmm.
I want to talk about the possibles a little bit when it comes to segmentation and sending out, like having something in like that first 5 email sequence that you talked about, where you could potentially have a fork in the road where people can choose one or the other. Like, I'll just give a quick example. I'm just trying to think of something real quick. Like, a lot of times people, like, if I was going to send an email about contagious social media content, and then maybe I would say in one of my emails, I would want them to choose. I would want them to fork off maybe. That sounded bad. Uh, I would want them to choose. Let's just say it that way. Um, we'd have 2 paths.
Yeah.
Maybe I have something that is Facebook related that, is specific to Facebook, and maybe Instagram, right? So I could have something in that email that would give people a choice. They could, like, if they feel more comfortable on Facebook, they would choose the Facebook road. If they feel more comfortable on Instagram and want to really dig in on Instagram, they could choose Instagram. So the segmentation piece of this is super powerful. But I would rather you just get your first welcome sequence up and running before you have to get fancy with the choices and the choosing. But I think a lot of people probably would want to know, can you lead someone to a sale or do so without sounding uber salesy in a welcome sequence?
Yeah, actually, I have a few ways that I like tell people that you could sell in a welcome sequence that I can just go through like some of my favorite ways that are like really simple and not like super like full on launch, like buy my thing as soon as you met me. Like the number one thing that's like super easy to do that a lot of people I think are missing out on is doing something called a tripwire. I don't know if your audience is familiar with that, but basically what a tripwire is something that when someone joins your list, they go to the thank you page that says, thanks, you're in, check your inbox. But before you go, hey, here's this thing you might like. And it's a really small, low cost intro offer, usually something that's like $50 or less. And there's usually like a discount when someone just joins. That can be like a really easy way to get someone into your like world and become a paying customer, and it can be something that adds extra value to the lead magnet they just downloaded or something that kind of is connected to that in some way so that the person that just downloaded that thing would be like, oh, I'm interested in this as well. So like that's a really easy one to do, and it's just super passive that as you're growing your list, then people can be buying from you without you doing any extra work. There's nothing in the emails. They're still getting lots of value from your emails, but they're just like offered this one thing right when they see, right after they join your list. And
And
that's like a really great way.
totally agree with you. I call them mini offers.
Yeah.
Something that is, less than $50 essentially.
Hmm.
And you could do like even like some of the things that we've done in the past. And it's a little bit more of it's not a super hard strategy. It's just I want to paint again. I love painting possibilities where you can just add an offer bump to your shopping cart essentially, and you can increase the value because it'll be something that goes along with that people are like, oh yeah, I want that. um, I've seen, and I would love your opinion on this, I have seen some shifts in the space where free content has always worked from a list building perspective, but the ultimate goal for us as marketers is to get people to spend that first dollar with us. And
Hmm.
that's why many offers or tripwires have traditionally been so powerful. But I'm seeing a shift where I don't necessarily think you have to have something free anymore. I think that many offer putting something out there that people love and want. They're willing to pay a low cost amount for it. I think though that I've seen it work really well with paid media, but
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that? Do you necessarily have to have that free offer in front of your tripwire?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen this. Like, I think I've seen the thing you're talking about, where it's like a small offer. It's like really, like when you look at the sales page and all that is included, it's like a super deal, like $37 or whatever to get in. And I think the big benefit of that is that you're getting like super qualified people on your email list because they've already bought something. It's not like someone that is just looking and they're downloading every freebie that they see on Pinterest or whatever. So like that is value in that. But I think, like you said, a lot of people are running ads to these things. So if you don't have like the budget for ads right now, you may want to do some of both, but you could, like you say, have that be your tripwire offer. So the people that are organically finding you also get to see it, but then also you could like put ad money towards that to get people that are seeing it. Because I haven't really tried it. I don't know how it works to like organically like grow your list like that, but it is definitely something that people are doing and seeing a lot of success with.
Well, I've tried it like on lives, but that's a different thing because it's right in front of
Mhm.
your, your warm community or your warm audience,
Right.
and selling directly into a low cost offer is easier in a warm environment. But I've seen it work very, very well with paid media. As well, as long as you put it in front of the right audience.
Hmm.
So, you don't have to necessarily even have a no like and trust factor with people, as long as whatever your mini offer is super powerful and something they want, they're willing to spend a little bit of money on it. So that's definitely a strategy that could work. So I have I know we talked about the sequence, like that 5 email sequence, but the question I have for you is, and what increments should you send it? Like day, obviously when somebody first signs up, they need to get an email right away. But what happens after that? Is it 1 day, 2 days, 5 days? How should you stretch out those emails?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that you can do it. Like definitely you want to have the first one go out immediately. And then usually like to space them out between like 1 to 2 days so that they're getting the whole sequence over a couple of weeks. And then after that, they're hopefully getting into whatever like regular cadence you're sending emails. So maybe you send a weekly email, maybe you send a monthly email, but you want to like really nurture them right there at the beginning. So I usually will alternate, like send the first one day one, and then maybe skip a day two, send the next one. And then you can also in your email, depending on the service you're using, like maybe you decide I don't want to send emails on weekends. So you can block out those days and have the rest of the emails go out the following week, and have it so that they are getting like a few emails from you. Not like every day. If you want to do daily emails, you can, but I think sometimes that can be overwhelming for someone that's just signed up and maybe they're like just getting to know you and they're like, man, this person sends a lot of emails, especially if you don't send that many emails that often. Like if you're sending 3 emails a week normally, then yeah, it makes sense to email every day because they're going to be seeing you a lot more. But if you're only sending emails once a week, a couple times a month, then I think spacing it out a little bit more can help kind of get your subscribers sort of in the vibe of what you'll be sending going forward and not be too overwhelmed by like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of emails. Maybe I don't want to be on this person's list.
I think what you just said is super value based from the context of thinking about it from the perspective of the person that is getting your emails. And I think we always need to do that. But I think we forget. Oh, it's like, we got somebody on our list and let's just send them the stuff. We want to be
Yeah.
friends. We want to be friends with you.
Right. It's like I've got all my best stuff. They need to see this.
Yes, we get a little like, oh, it's like, have you ever met somebody and they just kind of get in your personal space a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
they're all up, they're so excited, they're kind of in that zone. So think about it from that context. Is you want to make a new friend, essentially, because that's what you want to build, that deeper relationship with that person. But you also don't want to overwhelm them. You don't want to be that rush up and, oh, I just love you and you're gonna love me.
Right.
You got to back up a little bit and give them some space. And so I think understanding that this is a new person to you, that you want to spread it out a little bit. You don't want to be all up in their grill.
Yeah, you
As
don't
they,
want to dump so much on them at the
yeah.
first time they meet you that you get like overwhelmed, and then they're just like, I'm just not opening any more of these emails for now. I need a break. Like,
Well, and you got to also remember that most of us, and you got to, I always look at this even from my perspective of how I am introduced to somebody new, is most of us have been on somebody's list that just vomits on us, like, right?
Mhm.
Like we get 5 emails a day from them and you're like, okay, this has got to stop. I'm going to unsubscribe. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
So we've all had that experience before. So when we see it happening to us again, we're like, oh yeah, no, I don't need this. I don't want it, like, kind of thing. Versus the other side of it where, you're just showing up with, great value and, connecting and communicating with them um, in a reasonable time frame, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good perspective, is to think about how you feel in your inbox and like what do people do that kind of turn you off, and think about, okay, how can I make sure that I'm not doing that to my subscribers? Because it doesn't feel good. Some things like, yeah, you want to just kind of watch out for stuff. Like, and you can kind of start to note your personal pet peeves with email, because I'm sure we all have our own different ones that we're just like, I never want to email like that again.
Yeah. And if, I think it's super important for us to realize that we have to understand our person, and if we do that, we're halfway there, um okay. So we got the question earlier, and I forget it was up just a little bit, but essentially it was like, the question was, who do you recommend from an email service perspective? We're currently, I started out in the early days on Aweber, um, and then we went to Infusionsoft. So it was exactly like we went from Aweber, which is at the beginner stage, to Infusionsoft, which is like Confusionsoft.
Yeah.
It's like that's what everybody calls them. Totally a major jump, and again, a very robust tool. Infusionsoft's a very robust tool, an amazing tool, but very robust. And then we've recently, about a year, I guess it's been about a year ago, went back to Active Campaign. But for somebody who's just starting out, like, what do you normally recommend for someone that's just getting going, or who do you use? Feel free to share that.
Yeah, so personally for my business, I use ConvertKit. I've used MailChimp before. I've used MailerLite. But when you're getting started, I think the most important thing is to just make sure that it does what you need it to do. Because like, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna do all these like advanced things. I need the most advanced one. But what you really need is just one that will like automatically send out a welcome sequence, which they basically all can do, whether it's on a free plan or a paid plan. So at that point too, you also want to look at, okay, am I comfortable using the software? Like, if you're doing it yourself and you don't have a team that's like going in and setting stuff up for you, you need to be in something that is like comfortable, that you're like confident using. So whether, that is something more simple like ConvertKit, or MailChimp's pretty simple to use. But if you want to get more advanced, you might be kind of confused. Like, you probably do not need Infusionsoft. Most people do not need Infusionsoft. And then, so like the basic thing is getting them to be able to do the sequence. And then the little bit more advanced is like tagging and stuff. But most of them now have all of that stuff available. And it's also kind of depends on how you want the emails to look. Like, one, I haven't tried it yet, but it's getting really popular. Flowdesk is a new one. And that's if you want to have like the really pretty like designed emails, like those ones. So if you want something like that, you might look at a service like that. Or if you want something simple, you can do like ConvertKit or Active Campaign that can do like the plain text emails, and they're really good at that. So it really, I don't say any one service that
Yeah.
anyone needs. It kind of is like, check out your needs, check out your budget, and you can start with a free one and always upgrade later.
Yeah, we did massive research when we were trying to decide whether or not to move from Infusionsoft, because we'd invested years
Yeah.
into it, and you have to learn, and it's not easy, from a beginner perspective anyway, that platform. But one of our biggest struggles was getting into the inbox, instead of the other, the promotion folder or whatever. And in our research, we found out that the platform that had or the tool that had the highest deliverability was Active Campaign. So we ultimately went there, but I think Active Campaign, ConvertKit, are probably very comparable. And I recommend, active campaign even to a beginner, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm also in a place where I feel like you should go the way you want to grow, and you
Yeah.
need the functionality that a real tool is going to give you if you're going to do some of these additional things like segmentation, or setting up funnels and things like that. I feel like honor bound a little bit to tell you guys about something that I learned about MailChimp in particular. Is they're not huge on home-based businesses. So if you have a home-based business, you need to read their TOS, and which is their terms of service, and make sure that you're in compliance, because you certainly don't want to lose your list.
And I think I
Um,
remember seeing something about in the past, they may have changed it, but like MailChimp had something about like you weren't allowed to send affiliate links through email. Like I remember
yes.
that was something I saw that I was like, okay, I do not want to use this service because I definitely do affiliate marketing. Like,
Exactly. And if we're smart, we all should be doing affiliate marketing. So I saw a question come through, and I thought this was super important, because I know there's probably several in watching either on the replay, or watching and live with us. They're in the direct sales or network marketing space.
mhm.
And, this is a great question, where she's asking about, looks like it comes from me. How can I make mine look different to increase open, AKA reduce the vomiting factor? Do you want to tackle that? I can certainly tackle it, but it's such a great question. So I thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah. So I guess like if I'd love some more details about the question because I'm not sure if I can tackle it, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it, Kim, because for me, it's like if you want it to like look like a personal email, like that is definitely a strategy that I've seen in email marketing. That's why you do the plain text and you have it come from your name from the from name, so it looks like you're sending a personal email. But I'm not sure like what the content is or what it is that you're sending too often to see if that is something that you could look at the open rates too and see if like you're getting the response you want, and see if you try a different strategy or try resending to people that haven't opened it, to see if you get more people seeing it that way. But I'd love to hear your perspective on this too, Kim.
Well, I think what she's saying is that the company is sending out emails that looks like they're coming from her. So
Oh, okay.
my big suggestion to you, and all network marketers or direct sales, or anybody that is even affiliate marketing has a little bit of this flavor. Um, you need to own your own people. So, and that sounds terrible when I say own. I don't mean literally, like, but it's our own real estate. Meaning, if you have a customer or a client, you need to have that data point. Like, you need their name and their email address as your own. So you need to be building your own list so that you can communicate with them outside of outside of the network marketing company, or the back end, or whatever your platform that they afford you. And I think a lot of times when you're just starting out, that's overwhelming to you, because you're like, well, they're giving me all these tools to grow my business, and I just use them? But you don't own any of that. I'm big on, if you're going to spend time and energy growing a business, then you better own your own stuff. So you need to be, building your own list and having them so that you can communicate with them. The Unfortunately, because you are leveraging the power of that platform to connect with your clients, and I mean your customers, I'm assuming, you can't control what the company does, which is another problem. So you can't impact what the emails that they're sending. You can't change the content of those emails, because they've already set it up to where it's automatically happening outside of. That's another reason that it's important for you to own those data points, aka the names and emails, phone numbers, whatever, so that you can communicate however you want to. And let's say in a week, I know this is a long answer, but it's important. That let's say in a month or two or a year down the road, maybe something happens, that company goes out of business, or you change your mind and you don't want to be in that company anymore or be associated with that company. Then what? If you have collected all your data, you have access to all of your customers, and maybe your people who've signed up to be in your downline, and now you own your own business. You truly own your own business, versus relying on the company itself. So sorry, it was a big long answer, but I thought it was important to make that definition clear. So as we're going to draw the winners here in just a minute, I want to be cognizant of Sarah's time. But Sarah, I want to, if you would tell everybody where they can connect with you, learn more about you, how they can, work with you if they want to. If you're getting hung up on your welcome sequences, y'all, Sarah can help you. Okay, so tell everybody how they can connect with you, Sarah.
Yeah, so you can find me on my website. My website is sarahmarieanderson.com. I also have a little checklist you can download that I have an open rate booster checklist. So you can see that's the link here, sarahmarieanderson.com/checklist. And you can sign up and you can get on my email list. You can keep in touch with me that way. And I can send you all the great stuff I do. So I make videos on YouTube. I post stuff on my blog, as Kim mentioned before. You can find all of that at my website, sarahmarieanderson.com. I would love to chat with you. So if you get on my email list, go ahead and reply back and I will say hey.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You definitely need to connect. Go grab her checklist. And when you get her nurture sequence or her welcome sequence, you'll be able to see what it looks like. One other suggestion I have for you is to find people who are maybe nurturing your person. I'm sorry, serving your person, and sign up to be on their list and see what their nurture sequences look like. Because you may get some great ideas if you're not quite sure, like what yours should look like. I'm assuming that they would have one, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't have their nurture or their welcome sequences set up. So you may get it, you may not, but opportunity knocking, I'm just saying you need one. Okay.
That's good data to know too. If your competitors are not sending one, then you've got something you can fill,
Absolutely. And I think that's super important to know. So let's see. I want to make sure there's no last minute. Oh, so Sybil, it's sarahmarieanderson.com, and you can grab her. Let me just put it back up on the screen real quick. And you can grab her freebie that she's offering up to everybody at sarahmarieanderson.com/checklist. So, all right. And then let me see who our winners are. Did I miss them? Rhonda's probably still picking them. Hang on, y'all. We'll pull those up. But I hope you guys have gotten some great value today from Sarah. And more importantly, you understand that, this doesn't have to be super hard. You have anywhere from 3 to 5 emails that you could craft. She gave you a framework for that, told you what would be a minimal viable welcome sequence, and you can get going and have yours up and operational in an afternoon. But if you're still hung up, call Sarah. Okay.
For sure.
All right. So our winners today are Keegan and Molly. All right, Molly, I'm so glad you won. Love you guys so much. I appreciate you for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe.